Michelle Davis is Senior Director for DOD Solution Architecture at Red Hat. It's great to see you again. Thanks for joining me. Agencies are building data strategies and data operations. What do you recommend that those agencies do to get the maximum impact for what they're trying to do to serve citizens?
So the best thing they've done is recognize that data is king and that the data is the most important weapon that we have, and the demand for that weapon is going to increase. So it's critical that we understand that demand, that data is the integral part for AI. Knowing all of this, we need to embrace open standards and hybrid architectures so we can get the maximum flexibility and scalability. And I'll tell you why, because the data is going to reside in multiple places, on-prem, at the edge, in the cloud. And we have to be able to access this. This is what's given the rise to what they call like federated AI. I'm going to bring the AI processing to you so I never let the raw data leave. And that allows for the most pure of solutions. And we have to design and think about that now, that this data is the secret weapon. And we must plan that it must be accessible, secure, wherever it resides.
Yeah, the importance of that, it strikes me, is in that every uniform leader that I talk to in the department talks about computing at the edge, data at the edge, and the importance of connecting those endpoints together so the data does not have to come back to home base, wherever that may be, to go out to somebody else in the joint force, that those endpoints need to be connected together. So it strikes me that makes what you're describing even more important than people might have thought before.
That is correct. And that only happens when you think about and design that from the beginning. We have years and decades of bolting on because we didn't plan for that scalability. And now is the time to have a kind of a clean slate, knowing what your weapon is and actually being able to follow it. And the same principles that we've had before still are going to guide us in this AI strategy, frameworks, shared data repositories, standards, but they're more than ever pronounced because of our coalition partners and outside of everyone has a sovereign data.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go next, because that's kind of the extrapolation of those conversations that I'm having inside the building, which is it's not just us anymore. We have to be able to share information with whoever it is that we're in the fight with.
That's correct.
And they may have different data standards, they may have different infrastructures, they may have whatever. And there are some of those things that one can ascertain before you're in the fight, but there are some that's just not possible.
That is correct. And two principles come to mind when we look at architecting and designing for that. More important is knowing the data flow and the data sovereignty. What data is relevant to the recipient, and just narrowing down the results. Because the second principle is bandwidth is a luxury. So paying attention to all of the data that's going back and forth, which is ideally what's going to happen to get to these decisions, mindful that everybody's vying for the same bandwidth, and now we have space, and now we have all this extraterrestrial. So knowing that relevant data, knowing what data is important, and that data sovereignty, knowing that flow is ever so important now in this world of AI.
A lot of discussion here about culture and the way culture informs decisions that are made regarding technology. What's your sense of how those two things intersect and the way that leaders in government should think about that?
So culture, it's not never, but it's not a technology problem we have now. We have a lot of technology. It is a cultural problem because educating the folks to use the technology, especially in the government, is the biggest thing. Training. And the only way to get folks trained is to kind of create an encouraging environment where they can test and fail fast, and have environments that can move and adapt the technology so that it can just be tested and vetted. Just creating those environments, especially in the government, because it takes a while to create an environment. So to know that these things are moving fast is an impediment to training.
Michelle, thanks very much for joining me today. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.